Some people move to the suburbs for peace and quiet. I moved to Sunset Ridge expecting a break from the chaos of the city, clean streets, friendly neighbors, and a modest HOA that just made sure lawns stayed mowed. That's all I thought I was getting. What I didn't realize was that I'd be stepping straight into a suburban fiefdom ruled by one woman, Karen Whitmore. Karen wasn't just the HOA president, she was the HOA. The board was essentially non-existent, everyone else had either quit or been driven into silence. For 5 years, Karen had been playing queen of the cul-de-sac with zero checks on her power. By the time I realized how deep her delusion ran, I was already on her blacklist. It started with a binder, not a welcome note, not cookies, not a handshake, just a 3-inch thick binder slammed down on my doorstep like it was a court summons. Karen, dressed in an aggressively starched polo and khakis, held it out like she was passing down divine law. "These are the updated community standards," she said, tapping her clipboard with sharp satisfaction. "You'll find that lawn maintenance is to occur between 8 a.m. and 10 a.m. every Saturday. I do inspections every Sunday." I blinked. The official HOA documents I received didn't mention specific times, they just said lawns must be kept neat. "They're outdated," she said curtly. "I've improved them. We take property values seriously here." I should have started documenting everything right then and there, but I still thought I was dealing with a slightly overbearing neighbor. I was wrong. When I decided to replace my front yard with drought-resistant native plants, I made sure every step was legal. Permits from the city? Check. HOA rules reviewed? Everything matched. I even checked the covenants twice, just to be sure. Karen showed up the next morning like she was preparing for battle. She didn't knock, she barked. "What do you think you're doing?" She shouted, eyes locked on my newly installed lavender and California poppies. "These are permitted under the HOA covenants," I replied calmly. "Drought-resistant native plants, fully compliant." She whipped out the infamous clipboard. "Those covenants are outdated. I've written new landscaping guidelines that require pre-approval for any modifications. These need to be removed." "Where were those new guidelines voted on?" I asked. "Where are the board meeting minutes?" Karen's jaw clenched. "I am the board. I don't need a vote to maintain standards." That was the moment I realized this wasn't just a pushy neighbor. Karen had rewritten the concept of authority in her mind. She didn't see herself as part of a board, she saw herself as the law. Then came the violation notices. First one, then two, then a fresh one every single morning. My trash bins were out for 35 minutes instead of 30. My car was parked in my own driveway past 9 p.m. My curtains were apparently not the approved shade of white. Each notice came with escalating fines, $25, then $75, then $150. There were no references to actual bylaws, just made-up infractions stacked with nonsense. I ignored them. That's when things got personal. She started hovering near my property, taking pictures, scribbling furiously in her notebook. Once, she stood across the street and filmed my front yard for 15 straight minutes, like she was compiling evidence for a federal case. Then I got the bill, $43,762 from Pacific Gas and Electric. But it wasn't addressed to me, it was Karen's personal electric bill. There was a sticky note on it that read, "Due to your ongoing violations, I've had to increase my time working from my home office. You owe me for the electricity used during these hours." I stared at it in disbelief, then I laughed, not just at the absurdity, but at the sheer, astonishing gall. I walked over to her house that afternoon, bill in hand. She answered, wearing gloves and wielding a spray bottle, mid-cleaning spree. "I think you accidentally left this in my mailbox," I said. She didn't even blink. "It's correct. You've created significant additional work for me, researching penalties, preparing documentation, contacting city offices. My utility use has gone up as a direct result of your noncompliance." I blinked. Karen, that's not how HOAs work. You can't bill residents for your PG&E usage. I've included a processing fee, she added, completely ignoring me. 10 business days, or I'll take legal action. This is harassment. I'm not paying your power bill. Her expression darkened like a storm cloud. We'll see about that. I should have known that wasn't the end. 2 days later, a police cruiser pulled up in front of my house, sirens off but lights flashing. I looked outside and saw 2 officers stepping up to my door, and behind them, Karen, hustling across her lawn like a kid headed to a candy store. I opened the door before they knocked. "Good afternoon," one officer said. "We received a report of theft of services, refusal to pay a mandated fee." Karen practically pushed forward. "He's refusing to pay $43,762 for increased administrative overhead." The younger officer looked puzzled. "This is a homeowners association fee. It's owed to me," Karen clarified, "for the extra electricity used while dealing with his violations." Both officers just stared at her. "Ma'am," said the older one, gently but firmly, "we can't arrest someone for refusing to pay a personal utility bill. That's not a criminal matter. But it's theft of services." Karen insisted. "He's stealing my labor." "Did he request these services?" "No, but, did he sign an agreement to pay you personally?" "Not exactly." "Then this is a civil dispute," the officer concluded. "If you file any more false police reports, that will be a criminal matter." Karen's face turned scarlet. She stood in my driveway for 5 full minutes after they left, staring daggers at my house. And then, somehow, it got worse. Karen doubled down, 5 notices a day now, charges for things like aggressive landscaping, sunlight reflective driveway violations, and willful disharmony with neighborhood aesthetics. She even invented new fines: $500 for environmental negligence, $750 for architectural defiance, $1,000 for community discord. When I ignored those, she called 911 again. This time, she accused me of grand theft of neighborhood equity. The same officers showed up. This time, they weren't amused. "Ma'am," said the older one, clearly exhausted, "this is the 3rd time you've called us in a month. These are not crimes. Landscaping is not vandalism. He's tanking our property values. That's not criminal damage, ma'am." And that's when I knew it was time to act. I gathered every fake fine, every recorded encounter, every note and bill. I filed a formal complaint with the state's Department of Real Estate. I filed a harassment report with the local police. Then I mailed a certified letter to every homeowner in Sunset Ridge, explaining what Karen had been doing for years. Turns out, I wasn't the only one. Other neighbors had been bullied, fined, and threatened but never spoke up. My letter opened the floodgates. Within 2 weeks, we had the signatures to call an emergency HOA meeting and vote Karen out. At the emergency meeting, Karen walked in holding her binder like a shield. "I don't understand the hostility," she said. "I've protected this neighborhood. My improvements have kept property values high." Homeowner after homeowner stood up to recount her abuses: fines for unapproved flowers, warnings for visible toys, citations for garden gnomes that lacked appropriate whimsy. When I took the floor, I read her electric bill aloud. The room fell into stunned silence, followed by a few snorts of laughter. "This is what happens when power goes unchecked," I said. "We deserve better." The vote, 43-2. Only Karen and Mrs. Hartwell voted to keep her. But that wasn't the end for Karen. The Department of Real Estate found she'd broken multiple state regulations, unauthorized rulemaking, collecting illegal fees, impersonating official board actions. She was fined $15,000, plus $5,000 for each of the 7 families who had paid her bogus fines, total, $50,000. She was banned from serving on any HOA board for 10 years. When they announced the penalties at a follow-up meeting, Karen's face went pale. $50,000, she whispered. I was just trying to help. Sometimes, the people who claim to protect the community are the ones we need protecting from. If you enjoyed watching Karen's fantasy HOA kingdom crumble, give this video a big thumbs up, it really helps more people find stories like this. And don't forget to hit that subscribe button for more outrageous real-life sagas, neighborhood madness, and satisfying justice served. Tap the bell so you never miss the next episode of Community Drama Gone Wild.